Hello and welcome back to Two for the Price of Nothing.
A podcast.
It's a very great podcast, and we've been gone for like
Too
what?
long.
Oh yeah, over a month. I I keep looking at my calendar and I'm like, something's missing.
It's all Cake's fault.
Okay, well, to be fair, yeah, I think so. We just didn't schedule a date. We were like, ah, fuck it. But so much has happened since, because episode 4 was the interview, with Wolf Aside. Go check that out if you haven't. Um, Episode 3, that was in like May, right?
Oh my
We
god.
haven't done like an update since then of just normal podcast. And shit has gone down and shit has hit the fan. It is sprayed all over the walls, all over the vanity, all over the television, and it's just not fun because the Clorox wipes just won't clean it because it's too wet and stained at the same time.
Okay. Cake.
Yes.
TMI.
Oh, wait, hold on. Nicknames are stupid. We have a rebrand.
Hey, hey,
Welcome.
hey. I have a nickname, you dick.
Okay, but yeah,
That's your
your
new
nickname is
nickname, you dick.
different. Dick. Okay.
No,
Okay.
no.
By the time this new podcast comes out, I should have my first YouTube video out. Maybe a second. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Uh, to our 4 listeners, please go watch that. Please do that. It makes me feel better about myself.
I'll do it too, Mike.
Thank you. Oh yes, and we are no longer using our nicknames. Well,
Yeah.
we have nicknames, but like we're no longer using the fabricated ones that we've all lied to you about for about 1, 2, 3, 4 episodes. We're just gonna. It's too much work.
Yeah.
So hi, Mikey here,
Ness.
and that's how we rollin'. Okay, what the fuck do we talk about?
Dude, wait, actually, speaking of YouTube videos, so I do shitty animations just for fun. And so I made a couple. I haven't uploaded all of them because one, some of the animations are actually trash quality, and I'm like, ew. But
Okay.
I uploaded these 2 Game Grumps animations, and a lot of people seem to like it, and I was like, holy shit! And now I'm not considering uploading monthly, but it's probably what I'll do.
So what you're saying is that I have to add more links into the description.
You don't have to, no.
Motherfucker!
Oh my god! Dude,
Um,
it's chill. It's chill.
I mentioned that shit hit the fan and the walls and like everything. I'm not just talking about COVID, because we're all going through that right now. We
Oh
all
yeah.
know them vibes. Maybe we'll talk about it a bit. But something else happened to me during the quarantine, which really sucks. And while I was sitting there and I was dying, I was like, ugh, at least I get content.
Oh god.
So I think, yeah, where should I start it off? I woke up one morning in like April, May. No, no, no. It was definitely not May. It was like May. It was like May, June. I can't hardly remember.
It's all a blur, man.
It is. I woke up one morning and my right side of my chest felt heavy and airy, and I was like, that's not fun, but I mean maybe I just have like a bad burp coming, or maybe I just like didn't fart enough last night. And so I go do my online class cuz I'm a good child, and I'm talking to my teacher and I'm just coughing and coughing. I'm like, ah shit, I got I got the COVID. I got the corona, and I remember my mom is like, "Bro, you homie, you good?" And I'm like, "Homie, I'm good." And then I got worse, and she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna call a doctor, and we're just gonna ask for like their opinion." And so we're on the phone for like 30 minutes, and the doctor is like, "Okay, please describe it." And I'm like, "Yeah, it feels like a bubble in my chest." Because that's how it felt. It felt like there was like a literal bubble in my chest.
Oh god.
And the doctor was like, okay, that could be something not too serious, but it also sounds like this thing called like a bleb on your lung,
Oh shit.
BLEB. And she was like, if it's bad, and what it is, it's an air pocket. It's like a bubble or like a blister on your lung,
Oh
and
my god.
if it pops, then your entire lung just deflates like a balloon.
Oh Jesus.
And I was like That's not fun. And so we get ready to go to the hospital just to see what's happening. I go in the shower, and at first I'm good, and then I start feeling weak. My vision starts going black. I think I'm gonna pass out. And I lean forward and I rest my hands on my knees, and it literally felt like there's like a clock pendulum in my chest, and it just lurched forward and it was weighing down, and I was like, that is not something I've ever wanted to feel in my life. And I was like, yeah, something's wrong. I come out of the bathroom, my mom's on the phone, so I didn't want to bother her, so I'm pale, almost
Oh
passing
my
out. I'm like,
god.
I
I'm dying, but I don't want to interrupt my mom on her
yeah,
on the
that's
phone.
exactly
So it's
it,
just
that's
like
exactly
I'll just
it.
be a good child and wait.
And I was like, I'm gonna go get dressed. And my parents were like, are you okay, you look pale. I'm like, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
We go to the hospital, and okay, this hospital is 2 blocks huge, and we're on one side, and they're like, okay, you have to go to the other building to get an x-ray. And so I walk, and I'm like, it's kind of tiring, but I guess it's because I haven't had PE in a while. I get an x-ray, and I walk all the way back, and I walk up the stairs, and I walk through the building, and I walk into the room and everything. And then the doctor comes in. She leans on the door and she says, I can't believe you are standing there and looking as good as you are. I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, if I had known, I would have never let you walk. How did you not like pass out on the stairs? And I'm like, I'm a
Oh my
big
god.
boy. Basically, the whole thing that I talked about the lung deflating, that's what happened. My lung collapsed and it was bad. And she's like, okay, so basically what's going to happen is we go to the hospital, and she's like, okay, you're gonna be fine. They're just gonna put a valve in. I'm like, what's a valve? What does that mean? Am I gonna get TF2 imprinted on my lung?
That's what I was thinking the entire time. Like,
God damn it! I've never even played TF2. So we go to the hospital, and this doctor that's explaining this to us literally is exactly the same as an English teacher I have, and I'm like, I'm loving him so much. I'm like, hell yes. And he starts explaining to us, and he's like, so basically, we're gonna have to put a catheter in.
like, like a cursed Capri Sun.
Now, the only time I've ever heard of a catheter is when it goes in the penis.
Oh god, I was thinking Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, I've never seen that, but I
Oh,
heard
you coward.
catheter. I heard catheter, and I make eye contact with him, and my eyes go wide, and I'm like, and he's like, not that kind of catheter. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he takes the bed sheet, he takes a pen, and he starts drawing out, and he's like, oh, whatever, it'll wash off. And he draws the lungs, and he's like, basically, yours went from whoop to woo. And I was like, that's not fun. And so he's like, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a catheter into your lung, or like connected. And what's gonna happen is the valve is going to, every time you breathe in and your lung expands, it's gonna expel the air that's taking up space in where the lung is supposed to be, which is keeping it collapsed. It's going to expel that air through the catheter and valve. And the valve basically it lets air out but not in. And we were like, okay, I can do that. And so I lie down on the bed. I'm like still in my jeans with the fucking gown on, and I'm like, this isn't cool. This isn't fun. And my mom's standing there, and she's all worried, and I'm like, it's good, it's good. And I was pretty good for like most of this, for like almost all of it, really. And so this doctor brings out the valve, and he looks at me. He's like, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is gonna really suck.
Oh
And he's
shit.
like, it's gonna hurt. It's not gonna feel like a needle. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna feel like I punched you in the chest. And I was like, I've been
Oh
punched in
my
the
god.
stomach, never in the chest, and not by a grown ass man.
Meanwhile, I'm fucking at home, just like, Animal Crossing is fun.
Animal Crossing. We'll get back to AC soon.
Yeah.
And oh my god, literally, they're like doing the thing, they numb it up, and I'm like, haha, thanks for the drugs. And he's like, oh yeah, you're welcome. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to do it, and it's going to feel like a punch. Just be ready for it. It's going to hurt. And I'm like,
Did you scream?
no, 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 no. He does it, and I'm like, oh, because it felt like someone pushed me really hard. Like if like a bodybuilder had pushed me just in that one spot on my lung. That's what it felt like.
So like Bruce Lee just kind of like yeet.
Yeah, basically. And he was like, "Okay, you all right? How was that?" And I'm like, "It wasn't as bad as you said." And he's like, "Oh, we got the big man here." Uh, and then they're like, "Okay, now so that we can get your lung to a, acceptable place, we are going to suction out some of the air using the valve." I'm like, "You didn't tell me about this." And so they get a connection from the wall and they just like plug it into me. And I'm like, "I'm jacked in," because I'm
Oh
fucked.
god.
And they start sucking it out. And there's this box connected where you can see like the air coming out through bubbles. And like there's a lot of bubbles or something going on in there. And one doctor turns to the other, he's like, "I don't know if that should be happening." And I'm lying in the
Oh my
bed.
god.
This thing is connected to a vital organ. And I look at him. I'm like, "What?" And he's like, and they start like, what, fucking with it. And then I feel like and he's like, "Yeah, this is gonna feel weird." And I can feel my lung like expanding, expanding,
Oh my gosh.
expanding. This is the point where I went from, okay, I can take this, to freak out time. Because before that I was cracking jokes. And then this starts happening and I can't breathe. My lung is just pulsing outwards and just thumping. And I felt like I was dying. I felt like I was having a heart attack. I was freaking the fuck out. And I look at my mom, and she started to freak out too. And
Oh
so now
god.
her freaking out is making me freaking out, and me freaking out is making her freaking out. And it's just a whole mess. It is awful. And then the doctor looks at me and he's like, "Tell me if you want me to stop. Tell me if you want me to stop. Tell me if you want me to stop." And I'm like, "I can't."
Tell me if you want me to stop. No.
Yeah, I was trying to hyperventilate, but I couldn't because I couldn't breathe. And so I couldn't
Oh
tell him to
shit.
stop. And I also couldn't tell him that I was freaking out. And I also couldn't hyperventilate, which just caused so much more anxiety. And it was crazy. And he's like, "Tell me if you want it to stop." And I'm freaking out. And I use every little bit of breath to say, "Stop." And he rushes over. And I'm like, and he's like, "Okay, that is not a reaction I want from a patient."
Oh god.
I'm like, "Okay." And it sucked. It sucked so much. And he's like, "Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep you here for a bit, and we're gonna try again. But due to what happened, we're gonna have to put the valve in again." And I'm like,
Oh god.
and so they have to take it out again, which hurt like a bitch. And then he just put so much like numbing in me. I'm like, "That was 5, right?" My mom looks at me and she's like, "He just put like 10 needles in you." And I'm like,
Oh my god.
"Crazy, crazy." And he does it again, and I'm like, "Ugh." And it hurts the equal amount because it's like near the same hole. And then he starts doing it again, and this time like the head nurse or something is there and he's making sure everything's going all right. And like it hurts and it's a similar feeling, but they did it with less pressure, so it wasn't as bad. And so I was able to take it. And then I come out of there, I'm like, "Fuck that. I don't ever want to go to hospital again." And I spent like 2 weeks just in bed. Well, not in bed because I needed to walk around and shit, but I spent 2 weeks just like, I was like Igor, where I was like
Oh
hunched
god.
over and holding my arm because it hurt to move that side. And my mom was like, "You need to move it." And I was like, "There's a fucking catheter in my lung. Piss off." I love my
Oh my
mom.
god.
My mom's great. She helped me through that so much. Mom, if you're listening, I love you. Uh
After you tell her to piss off.
yeah, after I tell her to piss off. And it sucked so much and I had to sleep weirdly and it hurt and they gave me pain medications, but it sucked and it was just awful. It was awful. And then I was like, "Okay, we're going back for a review and they're just going to see how it is. From the time we put into it, everything should be relatively fine. I'll get it taken out maybe that day, and then and then I have to take a while to just heal, and then I can get back into, my normal swing of things." I was wrong.
Oh god.
Fucking everything went horribly, horribly wrong. We went for the X-ray, and they're like, "Oh, it's smaller now."
What?
And they're like, "Okay, basically, the bleb and the hole that it created was big. It was real, real big. And so not even the valve could keep up with how much air it was letting into what was collapsing the lung. And so they're like, we're gonna have to admit you to the hospital. Now, mind you, I've never been admitted to the hospital. And nothing like this has ever happened to me. I have no pain tolerance. I've never broken anything. I've never sprained a muscle. I've never done anything. I scraped my knees once, and that's it. So that experience was bad already. Now I'm hearing I have to be admitted to the hospital, and that scared the hell out of me. I remember going to the hospital and I was in a pretty chipper mood just to kind of keep from going insane and to kind of help my mom because she was freaking out. And I'm laughing and she's like, "Don't laugh in the hospital. People are here in pain." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, they could use a laugh." Boy, howdy was I, oh man, because everything gets set up. I get in the hospital. I'm like, oh, you know what the best part of the hospital was?
What's up?
It was the food. It was the food because what they had was they had a television on the wall. It was such a nice hospital. They had a television on the wall, and you could like watch movies and shit. My mom and I watched a Marvel movie, and you can order food through the television for each meal, and it was awesome. And they had some of the best food I've ever tasted. Literally, I ordered a personal pizza, and I was like, "This isn't gonna fill me up. It's tiny, but it was thick, and it tasted so
Thick.
good." And oh my god, and it was great. It was great. And the first night of the hospital was fine. I felt actually pretty okay. I was like, I think I'm gonna be all right. And then my mom is like, okay, well, your dad's coming to like drop off stuff. What do you want? I'm like, I want my phone and I want my Switch. And she's like, you want your Switch?
Which was a good decision.
Yeah, and I'm like, you want your Switch? I'm like, yeah, fucking, I need something to do that'll keep me sane. And I just got Animal Crossing while I was like in that 2 week healing period. So I get everything, and I text all my friends. I'm like, hey, sorry I've been gone today. The lung got worse. And everyone's freaking out, and everyone starts like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in the hospital now." What?
Yeah. I was like, who's gonna make the podcast now? I'm kidding, no.
Yeah, that's I was so mad because I was like, I can't do shit now. I can't record a podcast. I can't record a script for a YouTube video. I can't I can't sing. I can't play guitar. I can't do shit. And it sucked. But the first night of the hospital was fine. And then I think it was like that night where they're like, okay, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna take an x-ray like tomorrow. You're gonna have to stay here overnight, and we have to hook you up to the air, and we're just gonna leave you here. And hopefully that's powerful enough to overcome the hole in your lung. And I wake up the next morning, I go to get an x-ray. I feel like, okay, this should be fine, right? I spent a whole night connected to the suction. Nope, it's still just as bad. And they're like, okay, that means we have to do surgery.
Oh, that's right.
And that word just freaked me the fuck out because not once has like a knife ever come near my body, except for like when I'm fucking around in the kitchen and I'm like, hee hoo, look at me juggle.
Oh god.
And I was terrified. It was literally one of the just that whole like event was the scariest moment of my life. When I heard the word surgery, what worried me the most and what made me cry was like, if something goes wrong, I could never sing again. And that was the most important thing to me. And I could lose that from this. I would be okay with losing a leg. I would be okay with like losing an organ as long as I could sing. And I was like, oh my god, something could go wrong. And so that's what freaked me out. That's what bugged me the most, and this is what made me cry. And they're like, and and the doctor is standing there, and he's like, okay, and with the surgery, usually it ends up fine, but if something like this happens again, there could be something more wrong. It could be a disease. It could be
Oh my
horrible
god.
genetics, and you could have a really, really big problem. And I'm like, okay, thanks for telling me. And he's like, well, you gotta know, man. I'm like, I know, but and so that night was just it was terrible. Was and when I think When did we first play AC? Was it that night?
Well, shoot, man, I don't know. I was just playing AC with you because I was like, man, I don't know how to help my buddy. I gotta help him somehow. Maybe playing Ace with him would like, oh, Ace. Sorry, I've been getting into Ace Attorney.
I think we played every night. And so like that night I was anxiety ridden. I was crying and I was like, I just want to be able to sing again. That's all I want. I don't care. And I was freaked out and I was scared of having surgery because that's literally people cutting you open. And I didn't want that. I could like see it happening in my head and it made me want to vomit all over the place. But they had really nice white walls and I didn't want to ruin that. And so I'm like, Mom, can I have my Switch? And she's like, yeah, because she's bugging too. Like she is freaking. And so I boot up Animal Crossing and I text Ness, and I'm like, hey, do you want to play? I'm gonna have to have surgery like tomorrow.
And I was basically like, fuck yeah, man, totally.
And I was like, thank you, thank you. And honestly, Animal Crossing was such an escape because we would just play a bunch of stupid games, we would catch stuff, and it was so much fun. And then we would just go into the museum and sit in a butterfly room and just talk, just chat shit. And it was such an escape. And I was like, yeah, here's what's happening with me at the hospital, et cetera, et cetera. Here's what I had for like a meal right now. It was super funny, it was super good. And you were like, yeah, that's good, that's good. And you kept me sane, man.
I do what I do.
And the next morning comes, we take another X-ray. They're like, no, you have to do the surgery. And they're like, we can do it this afternoon or tomorrow, like morning slash midday. And I started freaking out more. I was like, please, I just like tomorrow, tomorrow. And they're like, okay, but if this gets worse, the surgery could be even worse. And that just, oh my god, it bothered me so much. And they're like, the longer we wait, the more difficult it could be. And it was terrifying. And I remember that was the day where like I had a bunch of food and I was like, this is awesome. That was like I was having a blast like selecting the food and being like, look, they have this, look, they have this, they have that. And I played more Animal Crossing. The nurses, oh my god, the nurses were so nice. They were the best. They were the best. Those nurses deserve like everything. Those nurses were legends. They were so nice. They were funny. They had a good sense of humor, which means they laughed at my jokes. Um, and they took care of very so much, and they weren't annoyed at all by anything you did. They
Oh
gave me a
god.
piss cup. That'll come in. That'll come in very soon. They gave me a piss cup, and I was like, thank you, thank you. And they're like, oh, he's and I didn't hear this because I was fucked up. But apparently on like the like on one of the days, my mom was talking to them and they're like, yeah, he's like the baby of the ward because he's the youngest
Oh
here.
god.
And I'm like, I'm dying, but thank you. I was fucked up. And they're like, yeah, there's another like a kid like 17, 18 here who's having the same problem. And I'm like, hey, tell him I said what's up and that we're
Oh
the
god.
coolest ones here. And she's like, I will. They were so nice. They were lovely, and just that whole team is fantastic. And I wish them the best of luck with everything that's happening right now. And I hope they're completely fine. It's what started happening was since I was lying down all the time and I was drinking water weirdly, and my whole like body system was just fucked up. Uh, my that means like my bathroom system was fucked up. So I would like try and poop wouldn't happen, but I would like still really, really need to poop. I guess that's constipation. I would like go pee. No, no, no. I couldn't get up to pee. Or like it was way more of a hassle because I had that whole box connected to me, which my mom said I was like bunk ass Iron Man.
Oh
How in the
god.
first movie he has like the car battery connected to him. And so what we would have to do, we developed a system where my mom, since I couldn't get up, my mom would get me toilet paper. She would get me the piss bottle, and she would have to get up and go in the bathroom and wait for me to pee. But since I was lying down, it was hard to pee. Since I was fucked up, on drugs, it was hard to pee. By the way, the drugs weren't helping at all. They were like stopping my poop, and then they gave me like another pill that would like soften my poop, but all it did was like make the constipation like it didn't help
Jesus
the
Christ.
constipation, just made it less enjoyable when I did poop. And so I'm having trouble pissing, and I'm super sad, and then I have to give the jar to my mom, and she either dumped it out or had to leave it so they could examine it and make sure everything was okay. And I remember it was like that night when my system got really fucked up, and I must have pissed like little by little like 5 times in like 30 minutes, and each time like we had to run through the system, so my poor mother's trying to sleep, and I'm like, Mom, I need to pee, and she's like, again, and I'm like, yeah, and she's like, fucker. My mom is a legend, my mom is a queen, and oh my god, I don't know how she got through that,
Hell yeah, man.
but she did, and she's a legend. She's a legend for it. And it was crazy. It was crazy. But I went to bed, and it was the night before the surgery, and my mom's asleep, and the nurses are at their station, and the whole ward is in like the sleep time where it's like, okay, turn off all the lights. Everyone needs to be quiet. If you want to watch something, shut your door, and it's sleep time. And I was lying there, and I was like, this is where my anxiety was at like a peak, and I legit thought there was a good chance that I would fucking die the next day. And I was lying in bed, and I just freaked the fuck out of just like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, or even worse, I'm never going to be able to sing again. And I was like, I would rather die than not be able to sing. And then I think I did I text you just to like have someone to talk to and be like, help, am I gonna die?
I remember someone texting me.
And then I felt terrible. And then I eventually just fell asleep. And I wake up the next morning, they take an x-ray. Nope, you have to get surgery. And I was like, okay, guess this is what's happening today. Oh, you can't have any fluids today. Motherfucker, I love water,
That
man.
makes one of us.
So I can't have like my favorite drink, which I could use some water right now. And it was oh my god. But the X-ray dudes are so fun. They're so fun. One of them was wearing like their nurse gown was like leopard print, and it was awesome. And they come in and they start telling jokes, and they're like, "All right, yeah, you're doing good." And then I'm like, "Okay, can you sit up?" And I was like, I think I can." And then they sit up, they put the thing behind me, they put the lead vest on or whatever, and I'm like, smile for the camera. And it was so funny. It was literally like it was like the Three Stooges, but there were two of them because they were having like trouble with the X-ray machine and bringing it in and out, and they're like, "Oh, you gotta do that up there." And he's like, "I'm trying to turn it." It's like pivot, and it was so funny. It was so funny. I'm like, maybe today won't be so bad. Oh, I almost forgot. The night before the surgery, they had to put an IV in, just in case they needed to administer drugs and all that. So they put an IV in, and I was playing the Switch, so I kept bending my elbow,
Oh my god,
and
no.
that fucked with it. And so I'm playing Animal Crossing with Ness, and oh, and my sister was there too. Um, and I'm playing, and I come out of my house, and I'm like, oh, BRB, my IV is bleeding. I think that screenshot's on my Twitter actually.
Probably, yeah.
My IV is bleeding, and Ness is like,
Yeah, no,
okay.
think of it from my perspective. You're just chilling with your buddy, you know he's about to go through surgery and you're trying to be there for him and all of a sudden, hold on, wait, my IV's bleeding. I'm like, oh my god! Oh what's going on, dude? I was like I'm staring at the screen of my Switch and I'm just like, should I should I text him? I'm just there, my hands just instantly just got covered in sweat. And and I'm just there like, "Oh my god, dude, well, it shouldn't be that bad because I had an IV, but it didn't bleed. Wait, what the fuck?" And I'm like, "What is going on?" And then when he came back after, like, what? It felt like forever for me, but I was like, "Oh my god, you're alive."
Good. Do me a favor. Do me a
What's
favor.
poppin'?
Um, your gain was really high when you did that. So just like
I'm
when
super
when you
close.
yell, get a bit from the
I'm so
microwave.
close to my computer.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine when you're normal talking, but when you yell, like move back a little bit. Because your gain was really high for that, and in my head, I could already see myself editing it in Audacity.
Oh,
um,
pain.
and eventually they got that sorted, and I was like, "Thanks." My mom was like, "Stop bending your arm." I'm like, "I'm playing Animal Crossing, mom. Leave me alone." And then time for surgery came, so they had to, and it was super hard to like walk just because of how painful my upper body was. So I stumbled over to like a gurney, and they wheeled me over, and I still have the IV. I still have like the box. So there's like tubes like connected to me. Luckily, they're small though, and I was like, okay, I can do this. Then I roll over, and I guess the IV was still fucked up because I'm in the OR. Oh, everyone who had to go to the OR had to take a COVID test, but I have an awful gag reflex. So when they did the nose, I was relatively okay, but when they did the throat, I spazzed out, and my mom was like, "Oh my god, that could have gone horribly wrong. Why'd you do that?" And I'm like, and anyways, I'm in the OR, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna put in a sedative and a numbing and like all kinds of funky stuff into your body through the IV." I'm like, "Okay." Um, but I guess the IV was still a little fucked up because I'm like, "Is this supposed to sting?" And they're like, "It's stinging," and then I passed out.
Oh my god.
So it was so scuffed.
Is this supposed to sting?
It
Smack.
was so scuffed. But they did the surgery, and I remember waking up in like in I all I remember is I could barely open my eyes. So almost all of my vision was black, but I could see the ceiling tiles. And I could hear like voices, but everything was so distorted.
So it's basically like a movie where it's like, it's where
Yeah,
the protagonist is in and out of consciousness.
yeah, it really was like a film. Except you could see even less and low
Oh
budget.
god.
And I remember I looked down because I was lying down, so I looked down and I could see like the desk of the nurses station, and I was like behind it, and I could see people, and I was like, what, uh. And then a guy comes up to me and he's like, "Oh, you're finally awake. Yeah, you tried crossing the border too." And you yeah, so did I. Me and this thief here, and I'm like, "Motherfucker!"
Oh, you're finally awake.
Yeah, but and the guy's like, "How you feel?" And I'm like, and he's like, "Oh, you're able to cough."
Coughs up blood.
Yeah, it was awful, and I felt so bad. And eventually, I passed out again, and then I wake up like to nurses like helping out in the room, and my mom's like, "Thank you." And I look at the nurses, and they're helping me, and I'm like, uh, "You guys are so cool. Thank you. You're so cool. You're so cool. I'm gonna buy you guys sunglasses." And my
Sunglasses.
mom started dying at that, but the nurses just kept a poker face, and I was like, "You guys are so cool." And then I like passed out again, and then like I wake up, but I can't open my eyes, and I'm like, Mom, Mom, I'm awake, but I can't open, I can't." And my mom's like, "That's okay, just go back to sleep." And I wake up, like the surgery was in the morning. I woke up at like I woke up and stayed awake at like 8 or 9 p.m.
Oh my god.
Like 20 minutes before the deadline for ordering dinner, and my mom was like, "You wanna order food? Like that was your favorite activity here in the hospital." I'm like, "Yes." And my mom was like, "You should get soup." I'm like, "Okay." So I ordered this soup, and literally I can't move because everything is painful. And so the soup comes in, the nurse is like, "Oh, no, no, no." The cook is like, "Oh, how is he? How is everything?" And my mom was like, "Oh, he just got out of surgery." And he's like, "Oh, poor thing. Well,
Oh.
here's this fucking soup." Everyone there was so nice, and I love them all. And so my mom had to spoon feed me the soup. It was soup, and like Jello, because I was like, "Can I get Jello?" And my mom's like, "Yes, you can get two." And I'm like, "Yay!" Because I fucking it was crazy. And so my mom is hand feeding me this soup, and I'm like, "This is the best soup I've
Oh my
ever had
god.
in my life." And it really was. It was the best soup that I've ever fucking had. And it was from this hospital in this dinky ass plastic bowl. And like I'm sure it was microwaved, and I'm sure it was the drugs, but it tasted fabulous. It was great, and I loved every second of it. And so my mom is dying, and I'm still able to crack a couple of jokes here and there, and she's like, "Okay, okay." And so I finished the soup, and I have chocolate pudding and Jello, and I'm so happy. And my mom has food, and then I'm like, "Yay, good vibes, good vibes." Except for I'm really fucked up on drugs right now, all kinds of painkillers and sedative.
Oh no.
And so my mom's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, Animal Crossing.
God.
And so I get on Animal Crossing. I'm fucked up. But I didn't stay on for long. I think we just chilled and I'm like, yeah, I just came out of surgery. No, no, no. Oh, oh my god. No, 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 no. Backtrack. So like the first time, so like before I went into surgery, I was texting a friend who may or may not be co-hosting a series on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/ I actually don't know the URL. It'll be in the link tree in the description. Um and I was texting him and I was like, I just before I go into surgery, remind me not to say anything like stupid or that I wouldn't want my parents to know when I come out and I'm hopped up on drugs. And he's like, I got you, fam. But I was like gone for like 5 hours and babbling. And so I finally get back to texting him and I'm like, oh, I didn't say stupid shit, but you forgot to remind me. And he's like, yeah, fucking get fucked, cunt. and oh my god. And just that night after coming out of surgery, and I was like, I think I might be okay. The worst part of waking up and being like conscious and being able to tell what was happening around me was they sat me up like a little bit and I looked to my left and there's my mom in the IV. And I can feel the valve on my chest. So there's a tube there. There's a tube in my arm, and I look to my right, and the box is no longer connected to the valve. You want to know what it's connected to? It is connected to this thick ass tube stabbed into the side of my torso, and it is just suctioning out the air, and there is blood staining the tube. And so I wake up and I'm finally conscious and I see that and I feel like passing out again, and it was terrifying. It was so scary. I thought, what happened? What happened while I was gone?
Like, okay, so I'm keeping quiet throughout this entire story because this is sort of like the first I'm hearing of it, even though I've heard like bits and pieces of it. And while hearing this, you you can't see me, but I'm just wide eyed with my hands sweaty, and just like, oh my god, my best friend just went through all this shit. Yeah, just like, damn it, Mike.
Yeah, well, no one told my lung to fucking pop.
It was like, you know what? You know what? One day I'm just gonna fucking pop.
Fuck it. Today's the day. Um, where was I? Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And I look at my mom. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And she's like, oh, that they're suctioning it up, but instead of using the valve where it's less efficient, it's just straight into your fucking body, into your fucking lung. And it wasn't just like into like the start of. Okay, so basically I kind of explained this shittily before, but so the lung has like a little layer around it, and when the lung itself popped, air went into that little layer, and that pushes the lung down. And if I breathe in, you would think the lung would just expand. No, because the air goes back out of the hole because the lung is putting pressure on it, but that pressure ends up just being put on it, so it keeps it collapsed. They put a tube inside that little area, literally inside my entire, like the entire cavity where like the lung is, up to like the top. I could feel it in my shoulder. And when I laid back, it felt like there was a knife in my shoulder blade because I could feel that tube running through my entire body and connected to this thick tube in the side of my torso, which is bloody, which made me think I fucking like almost died, and now I'm like a
God.
vegetable and I have 6 weeks to live. But it was fucking, it was crazy. It was monkey s, but I made it out of surgery, and the next few days it it was kind of the same amount of awful, but instead of anticipation anxiety, it was more just physical pain. And I have no pain tolerance because I've never gone through like anything really painful before. And so this was just, it was torture and it hurt so bad. Every second that I was awake, I was in pain some way, somewhere. I couldn't go to sleep because every time I tried to lie down, I felt like I was being stabbed in the back. Breathing, uh, whenever I would inhale, I could feel the catheter and it hurt. Moving my arm hurt. My left arm hurt because of the IV, and moving my right arm hurt because of like the surgical stitches and how all the muscle is like together. And everything hurt. Everything hurt, and I was in pain, and I wanted to fucking die.
You can't do that.
Luckily, I still played more Animal Crossing, and that helped. And I would be like in the butterfly room talking with Ness, and I would be like, "God, fuck, it hurts."
Yeah, and I'm here like feeling like absolute piss because it's like, well, I can't do anything to help my buddy, and if I could, well, I'd be doing it now, but I can't because we're social distancing.
I think what made me feel the best was chasing around with an axe, and then no wait, I you were chasing me with an axe, and then I was like, wait a minute, and I turn around and I take out my axe, and then you start running,
Yeah.
and it was so funny. But just the hospital, man, the hospital sucked. The hospital was awful. It was terrible, but the people there were great, and they did their best. And I had dinner. I was hand fed again. I think I had a comfort food, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and it was great.
Hell yeah, man.
And I was like, Mom, fucking hell.
Damn.
But give me a second. My cat is meowing. I'll be right back.
Oh, baby. Baby, baby. Oh my god. Baby, baby. Kitties. Kitty, kitty. Kitty, 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 kitty. Should make a song about cats, even though I have no talent in music. That's Mike's job. All of this is just reminding me of the one meme. Hey, you're bleeding internally. Well, good. That's where all the blood is supposed to be. Oh god. Why am I even saying anything? He's probably gonna cut this out. But if he was an actual dick, he wouldn't. And knowing Mike. Nah, I shouldn't say that. He can't even hear me. He deafened himself. Doing all this shit on Discord. Be better if we was on Discord, actually. Well, actually, no, not really. Because, maybe. We're just two kids making a podcast. Does everyone need a podcast? I don't know. I remember PewDiePie made a video about this. Like, not everyone needs a podcast. And I was like, yikes. I don't know. We came up with this shit in geometry. I personally, I was like, you know what? Sure, this is my buddy, my homie. I'll go with whatever. And then here we are. I'm sure it'll blow up. Like this will, if the entirety of humanity gets wiped out, this will be one of the things that aliens will find and be like, huh, man, these human children were pretty fucking idiotic. Yeah, see, I'm. Oh god. Oh hey, what's up?
I'm back. Yeah, my cat was just sad that no one was around. She was just like,
Give
meow, meow.
give her to me. I will take care of her. She's
No,
mine
my
now. Thank
mom
you.
would cry.
Oh, never mind. No.
Nah, nah, my mom loves her. My mom has bad dreams about the cat getting hurt, not her kids. And it is literally so funny to make fun of her for it.
Oh.
I love it. Oh man, I spent so much time like with my elbow on the desk that I like peeled skin off.
What the hell?
It's also like sensitive because I just took a shower.
You friggin' snowflake. I'm kidding.
Fucking hell. All right, let's run it back. Where were we?
Yeah, you were saying you had fun chasing me around with an axe.
Oh yeah. Um I don't know, just kind of texting my friends and playing Animal Crossing with you and my sister
Friendship is magic.
and my brother. It was just really, really therapeutic. And because of COVID, no one could visit. But like through like the internet and Animal Crossing, I was still able to interact with you guys, and everyone was so supportive. And it was just great. My sister would go to my island, and she would go all Oprah on my ass and just drop a bunch of money and say, "Pay your bills, boy." She still does that. It's great.
Yeah, Mike has gold roses on his island.
Woo! just one though.
Well,
I'll get more. Um, and it was that was just really what got me through, and especially my mother. My mother is a saint. She just anytime I was awake, she was awake as well, which means into like the ungodly hours of the night. And it was everyone was kind of the reason I feel like I made it through as emotionally intact as I did because it definitely was harmful, but it could have been much 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 worse. And just the support of everyone was so it was real nice. I remember like my brother would send me memes and it would be like next time don't have bad organs and it was so funny as shit. And it was just great. Everything was great. And I finally got discharged and I went home and I spent a month not able to sing or be loud. And that is when I started playing the guitar more. I started working on other stuff and I don't know. It was an awful, awful experience, but it gave me reason to start doing other things that I wasn't doing at the same time. And now I can do all of those things. And now I'm starting up all of those things or continuing them, and I'm better at them than I ever was. And you know what? It was great. It was it was great to just be able to do that and still do that. And it was terrible, but you know, all my homies, they helped.
we get it. We love you too, Michael.
Thank you, thank you. I know. Um, and yeah, that is the story of the hospital.
Let's title this episode Michael's Medical Mishap.
Michael's medical mishap. I like that. Mikey's medical mishap. We shorten it because I'm too lazy to type. Yeah. Do you wanna end it off here?
Well, how long have we been recording?
I can't tell because of our bunk ass setup, but I feel like it's been quite a while actually.
Yeah. All right.
All right. This has been Two for the Price of Nothing. Long time no see. We're glad to be back.
Oh, yeah, totally.
We have a lot of cool ideas. Got a lot of stuff in the works. Kind of.
Yeah, hopefully you'll be there to see him.
But we're glad to be back. I'm glad to be fucking alive. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Yeet.
Make sure to fucking follow us on everything. Lincoln. Oh yeah, I kept saying like links in description and shit. No context. Fucking. We have a YouTube channel now. We only advertised it on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel now. Two for the Price of Nothing on YouTube. We have every episode up there already, and we have like all of our links in there. And we have a Twitter. We have that's it. But we have stuff. So you can share with your friends diddly daddly.
I might make a few animations for the channel, you know.
Yes, that would be so fucking cool. All right. All right. Bye.
See ya.